The Barbie.
Before we get into this, can I just scrolling?
Go ahead.
Apparently, Joe Rogan, because we haven't talked about him recently.
This is not film related, Jake.
It is film related because Joe Rogan claims The Hangover is the last really good comedy movie because wokeness killed the genre.
Wow. Is this brand new?
This is as I'm reading an article from today. So
okay. Well, let's add it to the list. 6 hours ago. You're right.
Well, movies do suck now, so I don't think it's that. I think it's just that movies suck.
Wokeness.
What do you mean
movies?
Also,
The
since
Hangover
2009,
2
a lot of shit has been good shit's come out. The entire John Wick is what it has come out since then.
What was the movie with Jonah Hill and all of his friends?
I'll give you that there's been good action movies. End of the fucking world. That's a different one.
He was like, I'm gonna come all over your face.
Yeah, but that was old. Like that was old.
That was 2015.
No,
that wasn't that old. That was definitely past 2009. I wasn't watching fucking Jonah Hill talk about coming on people's face. I don't even think that was Jonah Hill. It was the other fat guy from HBO.
Seth Rogen.
No, the other fat guy. There's so many fat guys.
No, in the end. And it was Seth Rogen. It was Jonah Hill, James Franco, the dude, the black dude from Pineapple Express. I don't really know his name.
Damn, we really jumped over this Margot Robbie thing.
We did.
Like Bridesmaids?
Bridesmaids was great. Bridesmaids
movie.
was great. But again, 2009.
I said post 2009. It's 2011.
This is the end, 2013. I mean now, like this generation. Like I'd probably say like 2017.
Tropic Thunder? When
now.
They come out? That was definitely before 2009, right?
But I'm saying I think like 2017 to now, there hasn't been anything good. I'll give you there's been good like superhero movies, but there aren't any good like coming of age movies, comedies, rom-coms.
What about the fucking coming of age movies? Bo Burnham directed one that was really good.
Eighth Grade.
Yeah.
It was decent.
It wasn't like,
but it wasn't. But it wasn't.
She said coming of age. She threw more than one genre in there.
Yeah.
What about, I think the same year that came out, they came out with like, it was like a Superbad. It might've been the same people that did Superbad, but it was like a bunch of like 8-year-olds and they were just like cursing up a storm. I don't know if it was any good or not. Was that any good?
Not really. Cause it's just a bunch of 8-year-olds cursing. And that's what I mean. Like you could go in there and enjoy the movie, but when you break the movie down, it's not a very good movie. Like,
well, I'd argue that The Hangover is not a very good movie.
No, but it was.
Yeah, that's just a weird. I mean, maybe even if Joe Rogan is right, it's just a weird movie to base your idea on.
Yeah, The Hangover, I wouldn't base The Hangover on it.
The first one wasn't
saying,
bad, but the second one was terrible, and it was just like, that was the.
But even Bo Burnham's movie though, Bo Burnham's movie was it was a good movie, but it's a coming of age, and there's not really a life lesson to take out of it. Like, yeah, you should watch it if you like movies and you're in the 8th grade, but other than that, it's not like it's not like a 13 or something like that. It's like
I mean, to his point though, maybe I don't really watch that many movies, but I can't really think of any comedies that like blew me away unless,
I really liked like The Big Sick, the Kumail Nanjiani movie.
That was a comedy.
Yeah. It was like a biographical comedy about like, it's about his actual fucking life. I didn't think we actually go, but anyway, yeah, his girlfriend, his future wife, goes into a coma like a day or so after they like kind of break up, and then the first time he ever meets her parents are while she's in a coma, and they're all at the hospital like together, and they're aware that they're like technically broken up. Like it's an awkward comedy.
Also, to combat his idea. I mean, maybe there's no funny movies, but for sure there's a shit ton of shows that have come out in the last like 5 years that are not necessarily woke and don't really give a shit about like offending people. And like that's like saying you.
Yeah, and I guess that's
in
another
line with like. Sorry, Jake. That's in line with like saying you can't. Comedy is tough to do now because everyone gets so offended. It's just like, bro, you don't listen to the right comedians. Like if you listen to the right comedians, it's insanely offensive, but nobody cares because it's funny. Like that's
like, yeah, I was gonna say that's a hard one because one of the biggest comedians out there is Bill Burr, and he says it's like technically
super offensive,
wild shit. But there are
beating up his wife every set that he does.
talks about wild shit all the fucking time, but people, it's one of those overblown things. The woke thing isn't fucking real at the end of the day, and it's not the reason that comedy is bad, is that people aren't trying to offend people, because
you're just
I'd argue
funny.
that most of like the shittiest comedies I've seen are just that, like gross out humor. That's just like The Hangover was funny. It's not fucking brilliant.
Also, the biggest comedian of all time is still around, even though he was technically canceled. Dave Chappelle is still roaming around. Like, you're good, bro.
Because
that's a whole other argument that we don't have to go.
Yeah, I was gonna say we don't have to go down.
I just think they don't make movies like they used to make them anymore. And if that's what he was trying to say, I agree. If it's the whole wokeness, it's not really true.
Like that's
he
not
said
what
it's
he was
because, you know, he said it's
Hangover
because
is
of
not
woke
a fucking
culture.
Cinematic masterpiece.
It's just a terrible example to use. Like,
yeah,
in all ways, because like the quote is because wokeness killed the genre.
I can't even think of anything that wasn't woke in that movie other than like the Asian dude having a small penis, but he himself chose to show his penis.
Yeah, that was an option.
But also like The Hangover was just a stupid fun movie. It wasn't like Bridesmaids is 10 times funnier than The Hangover.
That goes along with like
it does make it seem as though like The Hangover was like this wild thing you couldn't do again. It's like nothing about that was like incredibly. No one at the time or since
one was
been
offended.
like, remember how
fair,
terrible The Hangover was as like a cultural standpoint.
Yeah, but to be fair, The Hangover has been like redone. Like, you know how shows will like do a Breakfast Club storyline and not call it the Breakfast Club? I feel like
they did
shows have done The Hangover like a bunch of times. So like it's iconic in that sense, but really it's just a comedy movie. It's not fucking.
Isn't that Tag? It was like 5 best friends and they're just running around fucking with each other. I mean,
essentially,
I didn't watch
without
it,
the memory loss element to it. Fucking What We Do in the Shadows. Come on.
I'm glad you brought it up, Jake, but that's just like wild. I don't even know why that's news. Who the fuck was he even talking to that he mentioned that? Up Rocks, I saw.
That's he wasn't talking to Up Rocks. They're probably reporting
it.
Yeah. Let me see if I can find it. Tom Papa.
I just find it
Comedian
silly.
Tom Papa.
It was on the show, I guess.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they're reporting on
the show. Tom Papa. Oh, I know Tom Papa. I feel like Tom Papa probably wasn't even agreeing with him because I don't necessarily listen to him, but he seems to be whatever. I mean, we don't have to, drag this, but I find that silly. I hate when people are like, oh, you can never do a Tropic Thunder now. Everyone gets so offended. I'm like, bro, if you don't pay attention, sure. If you don't fucking like,
yeah, that comes up every now and then.
I hate
and
that
people
argument.
and like, but people will bring up like the Robert Downey blackface in that. And they'll be like, look how problematic is that? It's like, but then like immediately there's like a giant wave of people who are like, that's the fucking point. Like
he's the butt of the joke. Like that's why it's funny.
It's a criticism of this kind of shit.
That's why what was the show back in the day? It was the married couple.
You're killing it with the theme.
All in the Family?
Are you going to talk about...
I was going to say Honeymooners.
No, not Honeymooners, because Honeymooners,
Honeymooners is older.
He wasn't necessarily the butt of the joke. They had like a little thing with Stepford and Son. I made it up. Made up that whole thing.
Stanford and Son. There
you go. Yeah, they had like a little because they both came out at the same time. It was the white family and like he didn't like. Oh no, they did with. Oh well, maybe it was multiple, but no, it was him and like George Jefferson, and like.
Oh yeah,
I know what you're talking about.
That is all in the Family.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm not an idiot. I mean, I am an idiot, but not in this case.
I thought are you going to talk about the Sammy Davis Jr. episode?
No, I was just gonna say like he was the butt of the joke, so it was okay to laugh at it because he was like this he was this racist guy, but it was funny because everyone knew that he was incorrect in the thoughts that he was having. That's why it was funny.
Yeah, like even back then, the joke wasn't we're going to say some offensive shit. The joke was like, look at this fucking idiot. Like, and now a lot of people complain that you just can't make rape jokes, which you still can, by the way. You just have to be good at telling the joke. Like
what's the comedian, he passed away, Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Kimmel is a big fan of him. I'm a big fan of him, but I don't know his name right now. The bald old guy. Jess, you can keep talking because I
don't know who the bald old guy is.
I did this last week. Don Rickles.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Like everyone's like, oh, how could he get away with this? Nobody can get away with this comedy now. I'm like, he's literally roasting his black friend, his Asian friend, and like everyone knows why they're going to the show. Like I'm sure, probably there's maybe a percentage of the crowd that was like, oh shit, maybe too much, but I don't know. Comedy is a whole different. We just went down a whole different road. I'm sorry. But
that's my fault. I just couldn't pass it up. I was scrolling through and noticing, like,
it was
of
recent.
course,
it's good.
The Hangover for some reason.
No. That was good. That was recent.